Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Promise, staring at Earth through the observation window. The planet looked beautiful from this distance, a blue marble floating in the darkness. But he knew the truth. In 3 weeks, maybe 4, Earth would be dead. The solar flare had come without warning. Dr. Minji had been the first to detect it. Working late in the astrophysics lab, she had run the numbers 5 times before she believed them. The magnetic field that protected Earth from radiation was collapsing. The sun had released something massive, something the scientists could barely understand. It was tearing through space toward them, and when it hit, everything would burn. Deho remembered the emergency meeting with world leaders. He remembered the panic in their voices, the desperate plans that would never work. Some wanted to build underground cities. Others wanted to evacuate people to Mars, but there wasn't enough time. There weren't enough ships. Humanity had just learned to travel faster than light, but they were still children playing with toys they barely understood. "Captain, we're approaching Jupiter," Una said from her station. She was young, only 23, and her hands shook as she worked. Everyone was afraid. They had been sent out here on a slim hope, a desperate search for anything that might help. Some old satellite data had shown strange readings near Jupiter. It was probably nothing, but nothing was all they had left. Deho nodded. Slow to half speed. "Minji, are you picking up anything unusual?" Dr. Minji looked up from her console, her eyes tired. She hadn't slept in 2 days. None of them had. "Yes, Captain. There's something out here. Energy readings that don't match anything in our database. It's big. Really big." The bridge fell silent. Everyone waited. Deho felt his heart beating faster. He wanted to hope, but hope was dangerous. Hope hurt when it died. "Visual contact in 3, 2, 1, Una whispered. The screen flickered and then they saw it. A ship? No, not a ship. Ships, dozens of them, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They were beautiful in a way that made Deho's chest ache. Smooth curves, glowing with soft blue light, like someone had carved them from starlight itself. "Oh my God," Minji breathed. "We're not alone." Before anyone could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up. A figure appeared, tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer between silver and gold. Large eyes studied them with an expression that might have been kindness. When it spoke, the words came through in perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Valkyrie. We know of your danger. We have come to help." Deho's hands gripped the armrests of his chair. His voice came out rough. "Why? Why would you help us?" "You don't know us." The Valkyrie tilted its head. "All civilizations deserve their chance. We remember when we needed ours. Once, long ago, we were like you, young, afraid, alone. Another species helped us when we could not help ourselves. We survived because of their kindness. Now we travel the stars, and when we find species like yours, we offer what was once offered to us. What do you need from us in return?" Deho asked. There had to be a price. There was always a price. Nothing. Help is not trade. Help is hope. Over the next 7 days, Deho watched miracles happen. The Valkyrie ships moved to Earth, massive and graceful. They deployed generators around the planet. Enormous machines that hummed with power humanity couldn't begin to understand. Dr. Minji tried to study them, to learn how they worked. But the technology was centuries beyond human science. Una spent hours talking with the Valkyrie through the communication systems. She learned that they came from beyond the edge of known space, from a region humans had never explored. They had been traveling for decades, searching for civilizations that needed help. Earth was the 17th species they had saved. Why 17? Una asked once. Why not more? The Valkyrie she spoke with made a sound that might have been a sigh. The universe is large. We are few. We do what we can, where we can. It must be enough. On the 6th day, the solar flare hit Earth. Everyone held their breath. Deho stood on the bridge with his crew, watching the screens, waiting for the end. The end didn't come. The Valkyrie generators flared bright blue. Energy rippled across Earth's atmosphere in waves of light. The magnetic field stabilized, strengthened. The deadly radiation that should have killed everything was caught. Trapped, harmlessly dispersed into space. Earth lived. Deho felt tears on his face. He wasn't ashamed. Around him, his crew was crying too. 8 billion people had just been saved, and they hadn't done anything to earn it. They had simply been found by someone who cared. The Valkyrie ships began to leave on the 7th day. Deho requested a final meeting. He stood in the communication room, looking at the Valkyrie leader on the screen. "Please," he said. "Stay. Let us thank you. Let us learn from you. We owe you everything." The Valkyrie's large eyes seemed sad. "You owe us nothing. That is the point. We do not save species to bind them. We save them to free them. Your future is your own now. Make it beautiful. At least tell us how to find you again," Deho pleaded. "Let us repay this debt someday." "There is no debt. But if you wish to honor us, then do for others what we have done for you. When you are strong enough, when you travel the stars, look for those who need help. Be for them what we were for you. That is the only payment we would ever want." "We will," Deho promised, his voice breaking. "I swear it. Humanity will never forget this. We will never forget the Valkyrie." The screen went dark. The Valkyrie ships jumped to faster than light speed, leaving only empty space behind. They were gone. Deho returned to Earth a week later. The planet was celebrating. Every city, every town, every village was filled with joy. Humanity had looked death in the face and survived. They called it the salvation. They built monuments. They told stories. They made sure every child learned what had happened, but Deho couldn't celebrate. Not fully. He kept thinking about the Valkyrie, about their ships disappearing into the dark. He thought about their words, their sadness, their hope. He was 80 years old now, too old to see the future he dreamed of. But his grandchildren would see it. Their children would see it. Humanity would grow strong. They would build ships. They would travel the stars. And when they did, they would search for the Valkyrie. They would search for ways to help others. They would become what the Valkyrie had been for them, standing in his apartment, looking up at the stars through his window. Deho made a private vow. He spoke it aloud, even though no one was there to hear. "We will find you again. We will thank you. And if you ever need us, if you ever face danger like we did, we will come. We will save you like you saved us. This is my promise. This is humanity's promise." The stars glittered above, silent and distant. Somewhere out there, the Valkyrie were traveling through the dark. They didn't know that they had just changed humanity forever. They didn't know that the small, frightened species they had saved would one day become something incredible. They didn't know that their kindness had planted a seed that would grow across centuries, but they would learn. Eventually they would learn humanity never forgot its debts. Jiwoo had spent her entire life studying ghosts. She sat in her office at the Historical Institute, surrounded by files and data that spanned 400 years. Every piece of information humanity had ever gathered about the Valkyrie was here, and it all added up to almost nothing. The year was 2547. Captain Deho had been dead for centuries. The world he knew had transformed into something he could never have imagined. Humanity had spread across 30 star systems. They had built cities on dead worlds and brought them to life. Their ships could cross the galaxy in months instead of years. The scared, desperate species that had nearly died in 2089 was gone. In its place was something powerful, but Jiwoo wasn't interested in what humanity had become. She wanted to know about the ones who had saved them. "Another dead end?" Hannah asked, walking into the office with 2 cups of coffee. She was the lead scientist at the Xenological Institute, and one of Jiwoo's few friends who understood the obsession. Jiwoo rubbed her tired eyes. The 47th expedition to the Galactic Rim found nothing. No Valkyrie ships. No signals. No settlements. It's like they vanished. "They saved 17 species," Hannah said, sitting down. "Surely one of the others knows something. I've talked to all of them. The Valkyrie appeared, saved them, and left. Same story every time. No one knows where they came from. No one knows where they went. It was the great mystery of the age. Humanity had encountered dozens of alien species in their expansion through space. They had formed the Galactic Cooperative, a loose alliance of civilizations that traded and shared knowledge. But none of them had ever seen the Valkyrie again. Jiwoo pulled up a star map on her screen. Look at this pattern. The 17 species the Valkyrie saved. They're scattered across the galaxy, but there's a clustering. Most of them are in the outer regions, toward the rim. That has to mean something. Admiral Suho entered the office without knocking. He was a large man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent his life in command. Dr. Jiwoo, I got your message. You said you found something? Jiwoo's hands trembled as she brought up the data. Old astronomical records from the preservation archives. Most of the information was corrupted, but I managed to reconstruct some navigation data from the Valkyrie ships when they left Earth. I know which direction they went. Suho leaned forward, studying the screen. Beyond the rim, into unexplored space. It's a starting point. Better than anything we've had before? The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. I'll authorize a deep reconnaissance mission. We're going to find them, Dr. Jiwoo. After all this time, we're finally going to say thank you. The story of the salvation had shaped humanity in ways that went deeper than technology. Every child grew up learning about the Valkyrie. The tale was taught in schools, carved into monuments, embedded in the culture. It had become humanity's founding myth, but it was more than just a story. It had changed how humans acted in the universe. Jiwoo remembered the first time she saw it happen. She had been 15 years old. On a transport ship traveling to Mars, they had received a distress signal from a small mining colony on a nearby asteroid. Pirates were attacking. The colony had no defenses. The transport ship wasn't military. It was barely armed. But the captain hadn't hesitated. We're going to help them, he had announced. When some passengers protested, worried about the danger, the captain had said 5 words that silenced them all. We remember the Valkyrie. They had driven off the pirates, saved the colony. It had been dangerous and stupid and absolutely the right thing to do. That was how humanity operated now. When they found struggling civilizations, they helped. When they encountered species facing extinction from natural disasters, they intervened. When wars threatened to destroy entire worlds, they negotiated peace. They asked for nothing in return. Other species found it strange. The cooperative had seen empires rise and fall, had watched civilizations conquer and trade and scheme. But humanity just gave. They shared technology. They offered aid. They protected the weak. Why? An ambassador from the Thalos Collective had once asked Jiwoo at a diplomatic meeting, "What do you gain?" Jiwoo had smiled. We were saved once, by someone who wanted nothing in return. They told us to do for others what they did for us. So that's what we do. We remember the Valkyrie. The phrase had become humanity's motto. It was painted on their ships, carved above the entrance to the Cooperative Council, spoken before every mission of mercy. 3 simple words that carried the weight of centuries. We remember the Valkyrie, but remembering wasn't enough. Not for Jiwoo, not for millions of humans who felt the same burning need. They wanted to find the Valkyrie, to see them again, to look them in the eyes and say, "Thank you. Look at what we became because of you. Look at what your kindness created." Hannah walked with Jiwoo to the spaceport where the reconnaissance mission was being prepared. The ship was called the Debt Repaid, a name that made Jiwoo's throat tight. "Do you think they're still out there?" Hannah asked quietly. "They have to be," Jiwoo said. But even as she spoke, doubt gnawed at her. 458 years was a long time. Civilizations rose and fell. The galaxy was vast and dangerous. The Valkyrie could be anywhere. They could be anything. They could be gone. Captain Kyung met them at the ship. He was young for a captain, only 40, but he had the same intensity in his eyes that Jiwoo felt in her chest. Dr. Jiwoo, it's an honor. Your research made this mission possible. Just bring them back, Jiwoo said. Or bring back word of them. Anything. We've been silent for too long. We need to break that silence. The mission launched 3 days later. Jiwoo watched from the observation deck as the det Rapide accelerated toward the edge of known space. It would take months to reach the coordinates she had found. Months of traveling through empty space, searching for a civilization that might not want to be found or a civilization that might not exist. Anymore. Jiwoo tried not to think about that possibility. She returned to her office and continued her research. There were still archives to explore, still data to analyze. Somewhere in all of this information was a clue, a sign, something that would lead them to the truth. She pulled up old videos from the Salvation. Grainy footage of the Valkyrie ships arriving at Earth, the generators surrounding the planet. The bright blue light of the magnetic field stabilizing. She had watched these videos hundreds of times, but she never got tired of them. In one video, Captain Deho spoke to a Valkyrie leader. The old captain's voice was thick with emotion. "We will never forget this," he said. "Humanity will never forget the Valkyrie." The Valkyrie's response was quiet, almost sad. "Then remember us by being kind. That is all we ask?" Jiwoo paused the video. She stared at the Valkyrie's face, at those large eyes that held something she couldn't quite name. Not pity, not pride. Something deeper. Something that made her chest ache. "We have been kind," she whispered to the frozen image. "We've helped so many species because of you. We've spread your philosophy across the stars. But we need to find you. We need to know you're okay. We need to close this circle." Her console beeped. A message from Admiral Suho. She opened it. Her heart pounding. The message was short. "The det Rapide has crossed the galactic rim. They found something. Multiple dead systems. Evidence of massive destruction. No signs of life. Jiwoo, I think we're too late." The words blurred as tears filled her eyes. She had known this might happen. Had feared it for years. But knowing and facing were different things. The Valkyrie might be gone. The kind, generous civilization that had saved humanity might have died while humans grew strong. They might have needed help, might have sent out desperate signals into the dark, and no one had come. No one except the species they had saved. Arriving centuries too late, Jiwoo stood and walked to the window. She looked up at the stars, at the vast emptiness of space. Somewhere out there was the truth. The det Rapide would find it, and when they did, humanity would face it, whatever it was. Captain Kyung had seen death before. Every space captain had. Ships lost to accidents. Colonies that failed. The cold mathematics of survival in the void. But this was different. This was death on a scale that made his mind refuse to accept what his eyes were seeing. The first Valkyrie system was a graveyard. 3 planets had once orbited the star. Now there were asteroid fields, not natural ones, formed over billions of years. These were fresh wounds, planets shattered into pieces that still glowed with residual heat. The debris was only a few hundred years old. "Captain, I'm detecting no life signs. No power signatures." "Nothing," Taijin reported from the security station. His voice was hollow. They had all hoped to find the Valkyrie. They had dreamed of reunion and gratitude. Instead, they had found silence. Jiwoo stood beside Kyung, her face pale. She had insisted on coming aboard for this mission, abandoning her safe office on Earth. Now she looked like she regretted it. "Take us closer to that debris field. There might be artifacts. Something that survived." They spent 3 days searching the ruins. Nari, the xenorchaeologist, led a team to the larger fragments. What they found broke their hearts. Pieces of buildings. Shattered statues. The remains of a civilization that had been beautiful once. "They weren't warriors," Nari said, her voice cracking over the communication channel. "Look at these structures. They're built for art, for science, for living. There are no military installations. No weapons platforms. They were peaceful." Kyung clenched his fists. The Valkyrie had traveled the galaxy saving other species. They had been kind and gentle and generous, and someone had killed them for it. "We need to find out what happened," he said. "Move to the next system on Dr. Zhawu's list." The next 5 systems told the same story: death, destruction, silence, entire worlds reduced to rubble. The Valkyrie civilization, which had spanned dozens of star systems, had been erased. In the 7th system, they found something different. A planet that was only partially destroyed. The surface was scarred and dead, but deep underground structures remained intact. Nari's team went down in armored suits, drilling through kilometers of debris to reach what had once been a data archive. The archive was still powered. Barely. Emergency systems had kept it running for centuries, waiting for someone to find it. When Nari accessed the files, she started crying. "Captain, you need to see this," she whispered. Kyung went down to the planet's surface himself. He stood in the ruined archive, surrounded by broken machinery and faded displays, and watched the last recordings of the Valkyrie people. The hologram showed a Valkyrie elder, standing in what looked like a government chamber. Behind them, alarms were flashing. The date stamp read 2251, almost 300 years ago. "This is First Scholar Velinor of the Valkyrie Cooperative," the elder said, their voice steady despite the chaos visible in the background. "We are recording this message because we know we will not survive. The consuming swarm has breached our final defenses. In 17 hours, our homeworld will fall. In the days that follow, the last of our settlements will be destroyed." The hologram flickered. Explosions could be heard in the distance. "We do not know where the swarm came from. It appeared beyond the galactic rim 5 years ago. A machine intelligence vast beyond comprehension. It consumes everything: resources, technology, life. It does not communicate. It does not negotiate. It simply takes." Velinor paused, and Kyung saw tears on the elder's face. "We tried to fight, but we were never warriors. Our ships were built for exploration, for rescue, for saving others. We turned them into weapons, but it was not enough. The swarm adapted, learned, overwhelmed us." Another explosion, closer this time. The hologram shook. "We saved 17 species during our time among the stars. It was our highest calling, our greatest achievement. We believed that kindness was the ultimate purpose of civilization. We still believe it even now, at the end." Velinor looked directly at the camera, as if they could see through time to the humans who would one day watch this. "If any of the species we saved find this message, know that we do not regret helping you. You were worth it. All of you. We hoped that by saving you, someone would remember us. That we would not simply vanish into the dark." The elder's voice dropped to a whisper. "We also hoped that perhaps you could do what we could not. The swarm will not stop with us. It will expand. Eventually, it will reach the civilizations we saved. When it does, please fight. Please survive. Do not let our kindness die with us." The recording ended abruptly. The archive went dark. Kyung stood in the silence for a long moment. Then he activated his communication device. "Nari, how much of this archive can we recover?" "Most of it, Captain. There are records of the swarm's capabilities, tactical data, everything the Valkyrie learned before they fell. Copy everything. We're taking it all back?" But Nari had already found more. She showed Kyung a map of the galaxy, with red markers spreading across the region beyond the rim. The swarm's expansion. It had consumed 90% of the space beyond the galactic edge. Thousands of civilizations had died. The Valkyrie were just one among many. "Captain," Nari said quietly, "the swarm isn't dormant. It's still active. And according to these projections, it's moving toward the Galactic Cooperative space. Slowly but steadily." Kyung felt cold fear settle into his bones. "How long?" "At current speed, it will reach the outer settlements in 20 years. The core worlds in 50. They searched 3 more systems before they found it. A partially intact Valkyrie, hidden in a shielded bunker on a moon that had somehow escaped complete destruction. When they activated it, the AIS hologram appeared as a Valkyrie scientist, young and bright-eyed. "Hello," the AI said in perfect English. It had learned their language from the archive files. "I am Research Coordinator Talvin. I have been waiting for you." Jiwoo stepped forward. "You knew we would come?" "I hoped." "The Valkyrie saved humanity in your year 2089? You were young then, barely able to reach your own moon? But we saw potential in you. We saw something fierce and determined beneath your fear." The AI smiled sadly. "We hoped that if any species could survive to find us, it would be yours. What happened here?" Jiwoo asked, though she already knew. She needed to hear it said. "We died. The swarm came, and we were unprepared. We had built a civilization on the principle of helping others. We did not build weapons. We did not prepare for war. It was our greatest strength and our fatal weakness." The AI's image flickered. "I was programmed to wait here and deliver a message to whoever found us, particularly to the humans if the humans came." Kyung stepped forward. "What message?" Talvin's expression was earnest and desperate. "We saved you so someone would remember us. We hoped you would grow strong. We hoped, perhaps foolishly, that you could do what we could not. The swarm cannot be reasoned with. It can only be stopped. And it must be stopped, or every civilization in the galaxy will die as we died." "We'll stop it," Kyung said immediately. "I promise you. We'll destroy this swarm for you. For everyone you saved." "Then I have one more thing to show you," the AI said. The hologram changed, showing specifications. Weapon designs. The technology the Valkyrie had tried to build in their final desperate months. Technology that had come too late to save them? "We never believed in weapons," Talvin said. "But we learned at the end that sometimes kindness must be protected by strength. These designs are incomplete. We ran out of time. But perhaps you can finish what we started." Jiwoo was crying openly now. "We never got to thank you. The Valkyrie saved us, and then you disappeared, and we spent centuries searching for you. We wanted to say thank you. We wanted you to see what we became." The AI smile was gentle. "You came. That is thanks enough. You traveled across the galaxy to find us. You are here in our ruins, weeping for us. That means we mattered. That means we were not forgotten." Talvin's image began to fade. The power systems were finally failing. "Go now," the AI said. "Go back to your people. Tell them about us. Tell them about the swarm, and when you fight, remember that the Valkyrie believed in you. We believed you could be better than us. Stronger, wiser. We believed you could save the galaxy as we saved you." The hologram disappeared. The bunker fell. Dark Daeng ordered the data cores extracted and loaded onto the ship. They left the moon behind, returning to the debt repaid. As the ship accelerated away from the dead system, Kyung stood on the bridge and looked out at the ruins one last time. "Set course for Earth," he said. "Maximum speed. We have a war to start." The Galactic Cooperative Council chamber was built to inspire awe. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the circular room, each sitting in sections designed for their specific biology. The ceiling showed a projection of the galaxy, beautiful and turning slowly. It was meant to remind everyone of what they had built together. Today, it just reminded Jiwoo of how much they had to lose. She stood at the central podium, Fleet Admiral Suho beside her. Behind them, screens displayed the evidence. Dead Valkyrie worlds, data on the swarm, projections of its expansion. The truth that no one wanted to face. Chancellor Minho of the United Earth government spoke first. He was an old man now, but his voice was strong. "Members of the cooperative, we have called this emergency session because humanity has discovered a threat that endangers every civilization in this galaxy. The consuming swarm destroyed the Valkyrie 300 years ago. Now it is moving toward us." The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted questions. Some demanded proof. Others claimed it was impossible. A few simply looked terrified. Jiwoo activated the hologram. Valanar's final message played for the entire council. The chamber fell silent as they watched the Valkyrie elder speak from beyond death. When the recording ended, no one spoke for a long moment. Then Ambassador Cross of the Thalos Collective stood. He was a tall creature with 4 arms and eyes that glowed amber. This is tragic. The Valkyrie were known to many of us as a peaceful people. But this threat is beyond the rim, in unexplored space. Why should we risk our fleets on something that may never reach us? Because it will reach us, Suho said, his voice hard. Our analysis of the swarm's expansion pattern is clear. In 20 years it will hit the outer colonies. In 50 years it will reach the core worlds. This isn't a maybe, it's a certainty. Representative Thel of the Mindari Collective spoke next. Her species communicated through bioluminescent patterns on their skin, translated by computer. Even if what you say is true, the cooperative has never launched a united military operation. We are traders and diplomats, not warriors. Then we will die as traders and diplomats? Jiwoo said quietly. The Valkyrie were peaceful too. They built their entire civilization on helping others. The swarm killed them anyway. Being peaceful won't save us. It will just make us easier to destroy. More arguments. More debate. Representatives proposed alternative plans. Some wanted to fortify their borders and wait. Others suggested trying to communicate with the swarm, to negotiate or understand it. A few claimed the evidence was fabricated, that humanity was fear-mongering to gain military power. Minho listened to it all with growing frustration. Finally, he stood and spoke with a force that silenced the room. The Valkyrie saved humanity when we couldn't save ourselves. They appeared when Earth was dying and they gave us life. They asked for nothing in return. They only asked that we be kind to others as they were kind to us. They are gone now, dead, killed by an enemy they were too gentle to fight. We will not let their sacrifice be meaningless. We will not let their hope die with them. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every representative. The United Earth Government makes this declaration to the cooperative. We will face the swarm, with or without you. If you will not help us defend this galaxy, then we will defend it alone. But we will not stand by and watch another civilization die when we have the power to fight. The chamber exploded in noise. Some species pledged immediate support. Others protested. A few walked out. The cooperative, which had stood united for 200 years, fractured in a single moment. That night, Jiwoo sat in her quarters staring at the reports. 5 species had pledged their fleets to join humanity. 38 had refused. The numbers were not good. Soman entered without knocking. She was humanity's top military strategist, brought out of retirement for this crisis. She was 70 years old and had never lost a wargame simulation in her life. Stop looking at the numbers. They don't matter. How can you say that? We're going to face something that destroyed thousands of civilizations, and we're doing it with 6 species worth of ships. Soman smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had accepted terrible truths. The Valkyrie lost because they were peaceful. They tried to turn their rescue ships into weapons, but it was too late. We won't make that mistake. She pulled up schematics on Jiwoo's screen. Weapon designs. Ship modifications. Battle strategies that made Jiwoo's stomach turn. We're going to use Valkyrie technology, Soman said. But not the way they did. They used their field generators to save planets. We're going to use them to destroy fleets. They used their power systems for rescue operations. We're going to use them for weapons that can crack moons. We're going to take everything beautiful they built and turn it into instruments of war. Jiwoo felt sick. That's not honoring them. That's betraying everything they stood for. No, Suho said, entering the room. It's ensuring their values survive. The Valkyrie believed in kindness, in helping others, in giving every species a chance to grow. The swarm will destroy all of that. Every species it consumes is a future that never happens. Every civilization it kills is kindness erased from the universe. If we have to become monsters to stop it, then we become monsters. Because the alternative is letting the Valkyrie's dream die. Over the next 80 months, humanity mobilized. It was the largest military buildup in their history. Factories on 100 worlds worked day and night. Ships were built. Weapons were tested. Soldiers were trained. The 5 allied species contributed what they could, but humanity bore most of the burden. Jiwoo spent those months torn between grief and determination. She watched the weapon tests, saw the Valkyrie's peaceful technology transformed into tools of destruction. Each time she thought of Vilanar's message, the Elder's voice saying they still believed kindness was the ultimate purpose of civilization, even at the end. Are we doing the right thing? She asked Soman once, watching a test that vaporized a small moon. There is no right thing, Soman said. There's only survival. The Valkyrie chose kindness and they died. We're choosing violence and maybe we'll die too. But at least we'll die fighting. At least we'll give the swarm a reason to remember us. Intelligence reports confirmed the swarm's vanguard had entered cooperative space. A small mining colony on the edge of known space went silent. When scouts investigated, they found nothing. No buildings. No people. Not even debris. Just empty rock where a settlement had been. The swarm had arrived. Suho called a meeting of the War Council. Jiwoo attended, along with Somen and the allied species military leaders. They stood around a holographic display of the galaxy, looking at the red markers advancing toward them. We can't fight them everywhere, Suho said. We don't have enough ships. We need to choose a battlefield. Somewhere we can concentrate our forces and hit them with everything we have. Somen pointed to a star system on the map. Here, the Valkyrie homeworld. The system they called Starfall. It's strategically positioned. The swarm has a major harvesting operation there, stripping the dead worlds for resources. If we hit them there, we hurt them. And there's a symbolic value to it. We make our stand in the place where the Valkyrie fell, Jiwoo said softly. We fight our war on their grave. Yes, Soman said. We show them that the species they saved came back. That we didn't forget. That we're willing to die where they died. Suho looked at each of them. This will cost us. Even if we win, the casualties will be massive. We're talking about tens of thousands of lives. Maybe hundreds of thousands. The Valkyrie gave us our lives, Minho said, entering the room. If we have to give some of those lives back to protect their dream, then that's the price we pay. The decision was made. Humanity's fleet, along with their 5 allies, would travel to Starfall. They would face the swarm in the ruins of the civilization that had saved them. They would win or they would die trying. Jiwoo returned to her quarters to pack. She would be going with the fleet, recording everything for history. If they failed, she wanted someone to know they had tried. She pulled up an old video one last time. Captain Daeho, young and scared, standing on the bridge of the Horizon's Promise. Watching the Valkyrie ships leave Earth, making his promise. We will find you again. We will thank you. And if you ever need us, if you ever face danger like we did, we will come. Jiwoo whispered to the screen, to the ghost of the old captain. We're coming. We're too late to save you, but we're coming anyway. We're going to fight your war. We're going to stop the thing that killed you. This is how we say thank you. The fleet assembled in orbit around Earth, 230 ships, most of them human. It wasn't enough. Not against what they were facing, but it was what they had done as the ships prepared to jump to faster than light speed. Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the flagship Remember Them and looked at Earth one last time. The blue planet that the Valkyrie had saved? The world that would die if they failed. All ships? Admiral Suho broadcast. We go now to Starfall. We go to fight for the Valkyrie. We go to fight for every species that cannot fight for themselves. We remember the Valkyrie, and we will make them proud. The fleet jumped. Space folded. The war had begun. The fleet dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of the Starfall system, and everyone saw the swarm was there, exactly where intelligence had predicted. But seeing it with your own eyes was different from reading reports. Daeho II, grandson of the man who had witnessed the salvation, stood on the bridge of the Remember Them and felt his breath catch dot machines, thousands of them. Ships, if you could call them that, ranging in size from small fighters to constructs larger than moons. They moved like insects crawling over the dead planets, stripping away rock and metal, harvesting, consuming, turning everything the Valkyrie had built into raw materials. Mother of God, someone whispered. Admiral Suho stood beside Deho, his face carved from stone. All ships battle formation. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Yiwu watched from her station, recording everything. She had seen the projections, studied the data. None of it had prepared her for this. The swarm wasn't just an enemy. It was a force of nature. A plague. Death given form and purpose. They've detected us, Soman reported from Tactical. Swarm forces are reorienting. Multiple groups breaking off from harvesting operations. They're coming. Good, Suho said. Let them come. All ships open fire. Show them what happens when you mess with someone humanity cares about. The space between the fleet and the swarm lit up with weapons fire. Human railguns faster than sound tearing through machine hulls. Energy beams from the allied species cutting swarm fighters in half. Missiles streaking across the void, finding targets and exploding in silent flowers of destruction. For a moment Deho felt hope. They were hitting the swarm hard. Ships were dying. The machines were retreating, adapting their formations. Then the swarm fired back, and hope died. The enemy weapons were unlike anything they had trained for. Beams that phased through shields. Projectiles that split into dozens of smaller weapons mid-flight. Viruses that infected ship systems and turned their own weapons against them. In the first 5 minutes of combat, humanity lost 30 ships. They're adapting to our tactics, Soman shouted over the chaos. Every attack pattern we use, they counter within seconds. This is what killed the Valkyrie. The swarm learns. A massive explosion rocked the Remember Them. Deho grabbed his console to steady himself. Damage report. Hull breach on decks 15 through 17. Shield generators at 60%. We lost the port weapons array. All around them, ships were dying. Human vessels. Allied craft. Good people who had volunteered to fight a war that wasn't really theirs. They burned and broke and went silent, one after another. We can't win this way, Deho said. We need to change strategy. Soman was already working. Her fingers flew across her console, running calculations. There might be a way. The Valkyrie field generators we modified. The ones they used to stabilize planetary magnetic fields. If we reconfigure them to create cascading dimensional collapses, we could generate a wave that would tear apart everything in its path. Including us, Suho said. Yes, including us. We'd need to position ships as anchor points, holding the generators steady while the cascade builds. Those ships wouldn't survive. But the swarm's main force is concentrated here. If we can take them out, we cut off their supply lines. Maybe buy the galaxy 50 years. Maybe more. Jiwoo looked up from her recording equipment. How many ships would we need to sacrifice? At least 20. Probably more. And they'd need to hold position for 17 minutes while the cascade charges. Under constant fire. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. 20 ships. Thousands of people. Dead so that others might live. Daho thought of his grandfather. The old captain who had watched the Valkyrie save Earth, who had made a promise that had echoed across centuries. He thought of the Valkyrie, peaceful and kind, dying because they couldn't fight. He thought of all the species in the galaxy who would face the same fate if they failed here. I'll do it, he said. The Remember Them will be the primary anchor point. Captain, his first officer started. We're named after them, Deho interrupted. The Valkyrie? The Remember Them. This ship was built to honor their memory. What better way to do that than dying to finish what they couldn't? Suho looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. I need 19 more volunteers. 19 captains stepped forward, humans, Thalos, Mindari, others, all of them accepting death to stop the swarm. Fighter wings, Suho broadcast across the fleet. Your job is to keep the swarm off those 20 ships for 17 minutes. Everything else is secondary. Keep them alive long enough to charge the generators. Yaijin was one of the fighter pilots. She was only 22 years old, fresh from the academy. This was supposed to be a simple patrol assignment, and instead she was flying toward death. But she didn't hesitate. None of them did. Remember the Valkyrie, she whispered to herself, then pushed her fighter to full speed. The next 17 minutes were the longest of Jiwoo's life. She watched from the Remember Them's bridge as the battle raged around them. Fighters swarmed like angry wasps, throwing themselves at swarm ships to buy seconds. The Allied fleet fired everything they had, focusing on protecting the anchor ships. Ships died. So many ships. Explosions lit up the darkness. Voices cut off mid-scream over the communication channels. Yejin's fighter took a hit, spiraled out of control, and her signal went dead. She was one of thousands. The Remember Them shook constantly. Hull breaches appeared faster than repair crews could seal them. The crew knew they were dying, but they held position. The field generators hummed, building power, warping space itself. Daeho stood at his post, watching the countdown. 12 minutes, 13, 14, each second cost lives. Jiwoo activated her broadcast equipment. If they were going to die, someone needed to know why. To anyone who finds this recording, this is Dr. Jiwoo, historian of Earth, aboard the Remember Them at the Starfall system. We are humanity and our allies, and we came here to stop the consuming swarm. The Valkyrie saved us once, 500 years ago. They gave us life when we faced death. Now they're gone, killed by this swarm. We came too late to save them. But we came anyway. We're fighting their war because they couldn't. This is how we say thank you. 15 minutes. 16. The ship was falling apart around them. Half the crew was dead. Life support was failing, but the generators kept charging. 17 minutes, Soman called out. Cascade is ready. Detonation in 10 seconds. Daeho looked at his crew, the ones who were left. They were scared. They were dying, but they were proud. It's been an honor, he said simply. 987. Jiwoo thought of the Valkyrie, of Valanara's message, of their hope that someone would remember them. 654. Suho's voice came over the fleet channel. All remaining ships retreat to minimum safe distance. To those who stayed behind, thank you. The galaxy will remember you. 3, 2, 1. The dimensional cascade activated. Space itself screamed. The field generators on 20 ships created tiers in reality, and those tiers spread, linked, multiplied. A wave of destructive force expanded from the anchor points, moving faster than light itself. The swarm ships tried to flee. They tried to adapt. It didn't matter. The cascade tore them apart at the molecular level. Machines that had survived for millennia dissolved like sandcastles in a tsunami. The main swarm force, concentrated at Starfall for harvesting operations, was destroyed in seconds. The Remember Them came apart. Daeho had one moment to feel the ship disintegrate around him. Then nothing. The surviving fleet watched from a distance as the cascade burned through the system. When it finally faded, 90% of the swarm's main force was gone. Scattered remnants tried to retreat, but hunter groups pursued them. It took 3 more months to track down the survivors, but eventually they were all destroyed. The swarm was broken. Not extinct, but crippled. Its supply lines were cut. Its main force was dead. The threat to the galaxy was ended. The cost was brutal. 30,000 people died at Starfall. 147 ships were lost. The Remember Them and her crew were gone. Daeho II never got to see the victory his sacrifice had bought. 6 months later, Jiwoo stood in orbit around Starfall. They had built a memorial here in the ruins of the Valkyrie homeworld. A massive structure of stone and metal, carved with the names of everyone who had died. Both the Valkyrie who fell 300 years ago, and the humans and allies who fell avenging them. At the top, in letters visible from space, were words in every language of the cooperative. The Valkyrie saved humanity once. Humanity returned to save their memory and the galaxy they loved. Giwu activated her recording equipment one final time. This was the last entry in her chronicle. The end of the story that had started 500 years ago when Captain Deho watched alien ships save his world. "We didn't save the Valkyrie," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "We were too late for that. But we saved what they believed in. They believed in kindness, in helping others, in giving every species a chance to grow and thrive. The swarm would have ended all of that. We stopped it. Not because we wanted glory or power, but because we owed a debt that could never truly be repaid." She looked at the memorial, at all those names carved in stone. The Valkyrie gave us our future. We gave them immortality. Everyone in this galaxy will know their name now, will know what they did.